I agree with the point that Aiyshwarya actually is making. And Anurag Sharma, I want to bring you in here. The point that the Congress and the other opposition parties are essentially making this, that yes, it's great for optics when you have a Dalit president or when you will have a tribal president. But what about the reality on the ground? Because there is a big lag. And as Aiyshwarya was pointing out, that just by having a Dalit president, did the atrocities on Dalits increase? Unfortunately not. Also, if you look at the fact as far as a tribal speaker is concerned, that actually came from the Congress first, and it was the BJP that had opposed it. So is it just using a convenient identity card today and did not have the same support when it was not in power? That's the criticism that's coming in.
Okay, now let me address this on two fronts. One, when you do appoint somebody to a post, a constitutional post, and the highest post in the country, it empowers the community. It actually makes them feel a part of the mainstream of India. So the major thing which happens when you empower a community, every atrocity, every crime which is committed tends to get reported easily. Secondly, it gets magnified by the media. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's a good thing gets magnified by the media. Once it gets magnified by the media, people get much more proactive. It's not only about the BJP, it's about the society as a whole. So every such thing which gets magnified, does the society respond adequately? Secondly, if you look at it politically, what we've done on the ground is shown in the UP results. If you actually look at the UP results, analyze it, and I analyze them on a constant basis in my constituency, we've noticed a lot more people from the SC community are now becoming BJP voters. Why are they becoming BJP voters? They're not only becoming BJP voters because Ramnath Kovindji is the Honorable President of India. They're becoming BJP voters because the BJP has done a lot of work on the ground with them. We've constantly gone there. We've constantly helped them. We're trying to do as much as possible in the fastest manner possible. In the last 75 years, there's been a sea change. Why are we constantly winning? We're constantly winning because we are working on the ground with them. The same thing happens with the scheduled tribes or the Adivasis. On the Adivasi front, BJP has constantly worked not only as the government, we've also worked as a party.
So the BJP is saying that there is a lot of thought that's gone behind as far as these nominees and candidates are concerned. It's unfair to call them just rubber stamp appointees. I quickly also want to go back to Tushar and Rasheed, and I quickly want to talk about the vice president candidates as well. Tushar, I want to bring you in first. So from a tribal phase, the narrative has been about a Kisan Putra as far as the VP candidate by the NDA is concerned, Jagdeep Dhankar. Now, as far as flashpoints on Bengal is concerned and law and order is concerned, we've seen what's taken place between the BJP and the TMC. Once this moves because of the election of the vice president to the Rajya Sabha, how do you see this playing out?
See, there are two ways to look at it. One, of course, what transpired in Bengal between Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and the governor over there. And two, also, that is this about sending out a larger message? Because we saw that the Chief Minister in Bengal was flouting the norms, the rules that were set when it came to the cooperation between the Chief Minister and the governor. You had the MLAs and the MPs in the TMC almost abusing the governor. So, of course, this sends out a message, for one. Number two, I partially agreed with Rasheed also that democracy is all about numbers and the opposition has all the right to float its candidate and fight for it. But the problem here is that it's the opposition MPs and MLAs that are suffering the conundrum between their identity and their ideology. And that is why you see a lot of cross-voting happened earlier today. And I also want to respond to Aiyshwarya's point about systematically governments being decimated. Even if I were to give her the benefit of doubt, in Jharkhand, it's MLAs of the Congress coalition government who want to back the NDA presidential candidate. In Maharashtra, where Shiv Sena, whatever is left for it, it's the Shiv Sena under the Thakres again that wants to back the NDA government, NDA presidential nominee. So you can say that it's about systematically decimating the governments, but it's also about people, MPs and MLAs opting over the identity, over what Draupadi Murmu represents and also the vice president, over what the party represents. We also need to understand this.
Okay. Rasheed, final word to you. Where do you see this headed as far as the VP candidates are concerned?
I think the VP candidate was actually Sharad Pawar's choice and Sitaram Yechury's choice. So it says a lot about Congress losing its place as a national political party or someone which is capable of leading the opposition pack. One more thing we must remember, Rizma, in the entire thing, when we say about a particular person, that identity politics you were talking about, look at, it doesn't happen. There is no empirical evidence that can match that, a particular presidential candidate or person who was holding the presidential office did something, good for the community, or the community benefited. You look at Gyani Zail Singh, who was president between 82 to 87, and Punjab separatism went to such a level that a prime minister was assassinated and things became from bad to worse. I remember when UPA had appointed Pratibha Patil as the first woman president of India, there was a lot of fanfare as if the UPA would get some traction on gender lines, and what happened in 2014 and till now. So this is all examples are there. I think we should take not a pinch of salt, but the bag full of salt that disclaims that somebody who belongs to a particular caste would bring some kind of traction in terms of electoral success.
Aiyshwarya, final word to you. As I said, cross-voting, extensive support that we have seen. Is there still a lot of thinking for the Congress to do before they can confidently say there is enough unity as far as a combined opposition for 2024 is concerned?
The idea of a combined opposition does not commonly or is not only prerogative of the Congress party, though we've been very magnanimous in allowing that sort of conversation from all other regional parties as well. But the opposition leaders and the other parties also are equally at stake and have equal responsibility to ensure opposition unity. And I really hope, I want to end this on a positive note by saying I really, really hope that Ms. Margaret Alva comes forth as the vice president, because not only her credentials are exemplary, but as a woman who has been here for decades and the manner in which she has worked, and she's a personal role model of mine being from my state, I really hope that we can have a historic moment where a woman from a minority community, not only her community, but as a woman who has achieved so much, can be the vice president of this country, to see iconically that both the top posts today in our country will be held by women. And I really hope that the parties vote with their consciousness and not coercion in any manner. And we hope to be positive to see what happens next.
Okay. We'll have to unfortunately leave that conversation there. I'd like to thank all the representatives of the political parties, Rasheed as well as Tushar. We're actually now shifting our focus to the other big story that we're tracking this evening. And this is a story that's coming in from Tamil Nadu. On the 13th of July, a student jumped off the third floor of a hostel building in Kalakurchi in Tamil Nadu. Police said she left a note that says she was struggling in several subjects and that she was humiliated by her teachers. But her family is not seeing this as the complete truth. They are now alleging that two teachers had mentally harassed and humiliated her. Remember, yesterday, massive protests broke out, buses were vandalized, even a lathi charge took place. The Madras High Court today outlined that